Well, Waterford, their 2021 All-Ireland Championship is over. Looking out at the field, and manager Liam Cahill is running after the officials. Not exactly sure what it is that he's unhappy about, but he certainly pulled back the officials. It's just to kind of shake their hands, maybe to have a word. Thought that maybe there was a small bit of drama going to happen there, but I think everyone in Waterford will accept that Limerick were more than for their 125 to 17 points from here at Croke Park. They're back into an All-Ireland final. Yeah, they came short in a semi-final a couple of years ago. They weren't going to do it here, and they bossed Waterford throughout the vast majority of this game. Maybe the 4 weeks in a row came home to roost for Waterford. They just lacked that little bit of zip. The first quarter of an hour, they were horsing into Limerick with tackles. A few big turnovers, big tackles, like the Stephen Bennett, like Austin Gleeson. But from a Waterford point of view, they couldn't get themselves into the game. And yeah, Gleeson, he ended up with 2 points in play, a sideline and a free. Steve Bennett got 1 point in play in the first half. But you contrast to the accuracy of the shots they got off and the scores they got. I mean, it just says everything about Lynch and he's that for team was changed just for the players, and it just made Waterford were taking advantage or like that and lashed the ball long into the numbers. No, they worked it around the place, and lots of different players getting on the score sheet. Aaron Glan, he scored 1-1 for playing, and a few more frees as well. But his goal was just, it kind of typified what happened in a lot of this game. Waterford had a sideline. Shane Bennett, who looked a little bit ropey throughout the game, just stumbling in the first half, spilling possession now and again. It just wasn't quite his day after such a couple of great performances beforehand. But his sideline was cut by Peter Casey, who's afternoon we'll get to in a second. His sideline was cut out by Peter Casey. He handed off to Grode Hegarty. Grode Hegarty took on man, as these Limerick players always do, fed it to Glan, and he just rattled it into the top corner. Definitely hit the frame of the goal and into the back of the net. A thrilling score that made it 120-14, and you knew the game was done at that stage. Because Waterford could have been here till 10 o'clock tonight, and it's hard to know if they would have put up a scoreline big enough. They did get 17 for a finish. I'm obviously exaggerating to some point, to some degree. Tom Morrissey thought he was excellent, scored 5 points from play. It's the lad who scored, I think he scored 6 from play against Tipperary. Just brilliant. Seamus Flanagan scored 4, massive roll for him when he was taken off second half. Keane Lynch scored 3 all in the first half. The half-back line were dominant. Declan Hannon, he was winning breaks early on the first half. Just has a nose for where the ball is going to show up. Diarmaid Burns, very good. Kyle Hayes actually hit and miss at times. He was turned over a nice few times, but he committed Waterford and had him on the back foot a number of times. And his turnover flick on Patrick Kern towards the very end of the game, when Kern looked like he was in for a goal chance, that was also, I mean, it was probably academic at that point because there was such a big difference in the score at that stage, 11 points. So maybe it didn't make a big difference, but it just showed the desire of the players that John Kiley has out there, that he went back and he turned that ball over. Waterford obviously chasing goals in the second half and taking on maybe the odd opportunity that wasn't really there. Even the first half, Austin Gleeson, he forced a goal chance when a handy point was kind of on, and I wrote in my notes why do it at that stage, because Limerick had been on a run of 8 points to 4. He took on a goal chance, but it just wasn't there, and Nicky Quaid batted it away. Nicky Quaid had some very good saves here, one later on from Jamie Barron, but of course a spill at the end almost gifted a goal to Stephen Bennett. But just back to that run of 4 points in a row that Limerick got. Well, sorry, first of all, Gleeson got a point just after the water break, and it was 4 points to 3. That made it 4 points all. But then, the next 6 points in a row were taken by Limerick. They just completely took over. You look down on the field, and at that first water break, Paul Kinnerk comes out with the tactics board. No doubt himself and Kylie have agreed what they're going to do beforehand, and it just kind of changes the game. Brian Cody was given man of the match in the 2008 All-Ireland final when his team destroyed Waterford. You wonder, is Paul Kinnerk ever going to be awarded a man of the match performance here? Interesting that Hawkeye was used 3 times during this game, just a little side point. Then the red card for Peter Casey. Let me know if you think it was a red card or not. I don't know. I mean, sometimes these things happen. I was thought a small bit harsh, but I haven't seen it back a couple of times, just kind of once, and didn't even fully clearly see it. But Graham Mulcahy came in late on. He got blocked down. He might be the guy who blocked down with a shooting attempt. He might be the guy who comes in the next day, assuming that Casey does remain suspended for that game. But Waterford just missed way too many chances. Stephen Bennett, he had a lot of frees that he missed in the first half. I think he missed 4 frees, and like 4 of them were from his own half of the field. And that just tells you that if you're going to foul, you might as well foul really far up the pitch. And Limerick are not shy of doing that, not shy one bit. They seem to do it in most games. And to be honest, it's the right thing to do. If you're a manager, do you want your team giving away frees in your own half, or basically allowing the team to carry them up the field and just give them handy little frees? But no, definitely not. Keane Lynch, I mean, what a performance yet again. Maybe not quite as influential in the second half in terms of the scoreboard, but he was just kept things ticking over throughout the game. I wonder, did Jamie Barron deserve red early on? I mean, they won a free, and this was part of the self-destruct of Waterford. He won a free and he threw a dig across Grode Hegarty. Hegarty comes in for plenty of attention about his tackling, but in that situation, he'd given away a free. Referee had dealt with it, and Barron is just a bit of self-destruct, because it would have given a handy free for once for Stephen Bennett, but instead turned over. And then you just look at that. It went 3 points to 2 a short while later with a sideline from Ozzie Gleeson, and then it's just 3 wides in a row, and then another couple of wides just before the water break as well. And it just did not happen for Waterford. They pushed for the goal chances in the second half. Again, Ozzie Gleeson had one in the 52nd minute, give or take. Snapped a lovely ball over Dan Morrissey. They had a great battle for a lot of the game, and Gleeson snapped a beauty over him, turned, probably needed to beat another man before taking the shot on. And I don't know, is it just like maybe Waterford were tired? Maybe there just wasn't enough gas in the tank to go and take on another absolute tank of a defender there, because this Limerick team is just relentless. Anytime you think that there's an opportunity for the other team to take over, they just completely flip the script. If you look at the second quarter, obviously the moving quarter in the Tipperary game was that third quarter. It was the second one here. They won that by 11 points to 4. Second half, then they won. They had lost that third quarter until Aaron Gallant slashed that ball into the top corner. Must have a special mention for Conor Prunty. Thought he was really good. I thought Darragh O'Donovan kept the ball moving. Will O'Donoghue obviously worked very hard. Barry Nash going off injured towards the end of the game. And it's only a 2-week turnaround. Maybe he's fine, but you just wonder now, are Limerick possibly going to be down 2 of their starters if Casey's red card is upheld and if the Barry Nash is injured? So that's another brilliant win for Limerick here. They just look so relentless at times. And just a couple of comments coming in here. And let's have a look. Some history of hit lads and the Limerick squad both on and off the field. Not fully sure about that one, what that means. John Collins, best full hour by Limerick this year. While Waterford battled hard, they never put a doubt in Limerick's head with regard to the scoreboard. Limerick impressive. Ref kept Waterford in it after half-time, says Brian Timmins. Awful calls, but Limerick never looked troubles. Joe Butler, the 4 matches in 21 days, caught up with Waterford. Terrible to watch at times with no Waterford player up front. Definite red for Casey, says XDX54, but Barron also should have seen red. Brian Timmins, red card, harmless, but I suppose if it looks like he hit him, then it's a red according to the rules. And that, like, to be honest, it's a bit of a tough one for Liam Cahill, because like if he didn't draw extra man back in his own half of the field, maybe Limerick would have cut them apart as they did in the All-Ireland final last year. They won that game by 30 points to 19, 11 in it in the finish, and it actually ended up being 11 in it again. You wonder, are Waterford any closer this year than they were last December in the All-Ireland final? I'm not sure that they are really. Keenly felt the losses of Tyg de Burka and Irla Daly, who's been out for the last couple of weeks. I mean, they really could have done with them today, because, as I said, it didn't really happen for Shane Bennett, and Tyg de Burka being the sweeper here would have really kind of made a bit of a difference, because he's such a class player. I mean, Waterford had their goal chances. It probably was 11 points of a defeat because they were forcing goals so often in the second half. Jamie Barron had a great turn when he went inside, actually, and to be honest, they might look at that again in the future. He turned past Dan Morrissey at one stage, and a great save from Nicky Quaid. So, I mean, Limerick just so impressive as ever. Going to be massively hot favourites going into the All-Ireland final. Liam Cahill, interesting to see whether he's still Waterford manager this time next year. There could be a bit of moving and shaking, and who knows where he'll be. Obviously, Waterford will want to keep him on, but another tough enough defeat when you consider the Munster final last year. They were an awful lot closer than they have been in the 2 games since. But Limerick are absolutely imperious front to back. What a team they have, and some good backup on the bench too. They just know how to adjust mid-game. They know how to not panic. I mean, big crowd here today in terms of what we've seen recently, 24,000. Lots of bales of hay to negotiate on the way up the country. I tell you, it was rough going trying to get up, and just dropping off the car and sprinting for the Hogan stand side to get in. Just got in for the throw-in, didn't miss anything. But brilliant performance from Limerick once again. Just there seems to be no problem that they can't figure out mid-game. And Waterford threw everything they had at them in the first 15, but Limerick just took over from there. Keep your comments coming in and let me know what you think. And stay tuned for the hurling show coming Monday morning. And obviously there'll be a match report after Kilkenny against Cork.